Oh, and why should the shadows come? And why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven, my home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is He. Oh, His eyes on that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. Don't you know that I sing because I'm happy? Don't you know that I sing because I'm free? In His eyes are that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. When your heart is troubled, oh yes, He is in your word I and resting on God's goodness. Oh, don't you know that I lose all my doubt and all my fear? Oh, by the path He leads, but just one hope that I might see. Oh, that His eyes on that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. Don't you know that I sing because I'm happy? Oh yes, I sing because I'm free. And His eyes on that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. Oh yes, and I know that He watches me. Father, I have wondered why I've had to live such a hard life. As one of your children, I have questioned, shouldn't things be better for me? So many valleys and too many hills I've thought, but I was wrong, Father. I'm sorry I didn't see. You do not owe me one thing, Father. You do not owe me one thing, Father. You have already given everything, Father. You do not owe me one thing. The riches of beloved love and your redeeming one blood was given for the sinner and for the debtor, and now my debt has fully been paid. You sent my Savior, and God, I owe you my life. You settled my forever, and now I owe you every day. Are you past the point of weary? Is your burden weighing heavy? Is it all too much to carry? Let me tell you about my Jesus. Do you feel that empty feeling? 'Cause shame's done all it's stealing, and you're desperate for some healing. Let me tell you about my Jesus. He makes a way where there ain't no way. He rises up from an empty grave. Ain't no sinner that he can't save. Let me tell you about my Jesus. His love is strong and his grace is free. And the good news is I know that he can do for you what he's done for me. Let me tell you about my Jesus. And let my Jesus change your life. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. Amen. Who can wipe away your tears, or broken dreams and wasted years, and tell your past to disappear? Let me tell you about my Jesus and all the wrong turns that you would go and undo if you could. Who can work it all for your good? Let me tell you about my Jesus. He makes a way where there ain't no way. He rises up from an empty grave. There ain't no sinner that he can't save. Let me tell you about my Jesus. His love is strong and his grace is free. And the good news is I know that he can do for you what he's done for me. Let me tell you about my Jesus. And let my Jesus change your life. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. 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 Who would take my cross to Calvary, pay the price for all my guilty? Who would care that much about me? Let me tell you about my Jesus. Oh, he makes a way where there ain't no way. He rises up from that empty grave. There ain't no sinner that he can't save. But let me tell you about my Jesus. His love is strong and his grace is free. And the good news is I know that he can do for you what he's done for me. Let me tell you about my Jesus. And let my Jesus change your life. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. 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 And let my Jesus change your life.
Amen.
Mountains are still being moved. Strongholds are still being loosed. And God, we believe it. Yes, we can see it. Wonders are still what you do. and bodies are still being raised. Giants are still being slain. Oh, and God, we believe it. And yes, we can see it. Wonders are still what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. We need a move. We need a move. We need a move. And bodies are still being raised. Giants are still being slain. And God, we believe it. And yes, we can see it. Wonders are still what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. We need a move. Yeah. We need a move. Yeah. We need a move. Miracles happen when you move, and healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move, and heaven is coming. Miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming. Miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming. So burn like a fire and blow like a wind. Come, Holy Spirit, we welcome you in. Burn like a fire and blow like a wind. Come, Holy Spirit, we welcome you in. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what This is a move. We thank you for this love. This is a move.
Miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming.
Miracles happen when you move. Healing is coming in this room. Miracles happen when you move. Heaven is coming. And I was sure by now that God, you would have reached down and wiped our tears away, stepped in and saved the day. But once again, I'll say amen, and it's still raining. And as the thunder rolls, I'll barely hear you whisper through the rain, I'm with you. And as your mercy falls, I'll raise my hands and praise the God who gives and takes away. And I'll praise you in this storm, and I'll lift my hands, for you are who you are, no matter where I am, and every tear I cry, Lord, you hold it in your hands. You never left my side, and though my heart is torn, I will praise you in this storm. And I remember when I stumbled in the wind, you heard my cry and you raised me up again. And my strength is almost gone. How can I carry on if I can't find you? Oh, and as the thunder rolls, I'll barely hear you whisper through the rain, I'm with you. Oh, and as your mercy falls, I'll raise my hands and praise the God who gives
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? About as nervous today as I've ever been. Got up this morning, I've been sick all morning. Only because I was nervous. We had the best Sunday school class we probably ever had. All the kids in there opened up, started speaking from the heart, telling about experiences when they got saved. And a lot of them's never even said a word, but they did today. All encouragement for each other, helping each other. And literally, that's what this is all about. Probably the biggest, burliest, roughest one, looking one in here. And you know what I'm going to be talking about today? Is love. It's probably the most simple, most deep, hardest thing to talk about is love. Especially as being a man, being a rough looking one. Right? The Lord's given me 2 or 3 different spots this morning. I can't decide where to start, so I'm just going to read one, we'll go to the next. Turn to Matthew chapter 22. Everybody there? Raise your hand if you're not there yet. We'll wait on you, I promise. Everybody good? Matthew chapter 22, verse 35. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, what is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Doug, can we pray for us? Turn over to 1 John chapter 4. Love is a hard thing to talk about because it's been so broke down, beat up, messed up, perverted, abandoned. But literally, there's at least 4 different meanings when it comes to love. There's 4 different types of love. One is like a romantic love. It's what you always see on TV and books and everything. And what it shows is just that love is just this thing that's going to pop up out of nowhere. It's going to be between 2 people and it's going to last forever. And it's not the way it happens. There's love that's brotherly love. And it's a love that's between friends or between brothers. You can love each other. Then you can get mad at each other. But you'll make up because you love each other. There's a type of love between a father and a mother and between a child. It's a love that's special. It's a love that's true, but it's a love that's just given to us from God as soon as that child is born. I'm telling you, this is probably the hardest message I've ever heard, I've ever had. It's a love that just happens. And Dalton and Callie is probably the closest ones that experienced it, but Anybody that's ever had a child, you thought you loved it before it came, but once it popped out, there was something different. There was something deep. There was something that you knew that that kid could never break that love from you. But just like anything else, there's people in this world that'll disown their kids. There's people that when their kids mess up, they won't have nothing else to do with them. But then there's one other kind of love, and that's the love of God. That's the love above all else. That's the love that isn't based on being your brother, being your friend. It isn't based on being born of your blood, and seeing it born, being your little child. It's a type of love that's just like that song. It's reckless. It's unconditional. It's a type of love that, like Romans chapter 5 verse 8 says, but God commendeth his love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. While we were yet sinners. Couldn't be earned, couldn't be deserved. It wasn't because you straightened up. It wasn't because you did right. It wasn't because of who you are. And it will never be because of who we are. Think about that. Because if it was about who we are or how we grew or how we changed our lives, then the focus becomes on us rather than on God. Because that type of love from God, it's all about who he is and nothing about us. Throughout time, we always want to go out and tell people about ourselves. We always want to boast in ourselves. Or, hey, I'm telling you this because I can't stand up here and tell you something unless I've already been through it. Unless God's already showed me and put me through it. That's what makes it so hard. Boast about who we are, what we do, how we act, how we treat each other. Paul said that he would boast in nothing except the cross of Christ. Nothing else. He was a Hebrew. He was a Pharisee. He was blameless by the law. That's what he said. Eric preached about it a couple weeks ago. He could have boasted about so many things. He could have really talked about himself. He could have really strived to compare himself to Jesus, which is what we tend to do. We tend to think that we can be totally Christ-like. That's bringing him down to our level because we're all failures. We've all messed up. He never did. Jesus Christ is the most perfect man that ever lived. His love is true and ours is not. We base love on conditions, on circumstances. Whenever it happens, we look and we're like, do they deserve it? Should we be nice to them? Should we abandon them? Well, you know what? God never does that. But a lot of lost people think that God does that because that's what we do. This is what God showed me. I don't have any notes or anything. This is what God showed me. This is how God's dealt with me over this. Whenever you think about what James said this morning, James said that Lucifer said he was going to be like the Most High. In Christianity today, the most like word is Christ-like. Whenever we compare ourselves to Christ, we do nothing but bring him down to our level. Christ is the Son of God, Almighty, died on a cross and suffered for each one of us. If any one of us did that, it would have never accomplished anything. None of us have lived a perfect life. At least every one of us have lied. And if that's not true, then God's not right. Because God said that there's none righteous, no, not one. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So, God's right. Whenever you think about it, you think about love. We've spread this picture to people that it's perfect, and that it's easy, that it pops out of nowhere and it's going to last forever. really and truly, love is hard. Love is hard. Is Jeremy here? Is Gavin? Where's Gavin at? I'm glad he ain't here. Because I told Jeremy what Gavin said the other day. Because we were in Sunday school and we were talking about parents dropping everything, going to do things for their kids so their kids can enjoy themselves. And I said, yeah, it's a sacrifice that a parent has to take their kids to a sport and game or whatever. I looked at Gavin and I said, what is it? What is it? Gavin said, it's a sacrifice. I said, well, what is that? And he looked down at the floor. How old's Gavin? Gavin's 13 years old. Gavin said, it's a sacrifice. He looked down at the floor. I said, what is that? He looked up. He said, that's love. And he's right. 13-year-old boy knows that sacrifice is love. We all ought to know that sacrifice is love, because the greatest picture of love was Jesus sacrificing himself for us. If we really knew the cross and we really put our focus on the cross, we'd see that when it comes to love, Jesus said it was the second greatest commandment. He said it right there to a lawyer. He said the greatest is love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, thy soul, and thy mind. And the second is much like unto it. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's a big deal. Loving your neighbor as yourself. Whenever we think about that, we think, oh man, that's so easy. I can love people. I can give them a hug. I can run around and talk to them. Be like, oh yeah, I love you. You're my friend, you know. But when it comes to love, it's harder than that. Love don't show up through the easy times. Love don't show up when things are going good and you're hanging out, spending time together. Love really shows up. Love really shows out through the hard times. Whenever somebody's in a struggle and somebody's in a need, that's when they really need love. When everyone disappears and nobody will have anything to do with you or talk to you, that's when you need love. Whenever a person really needs love, it's when everybody else disappears. And whenever that love of God shows up, that's when it is. It's in the middle of a hard time. It's when nobody else is there. It's when everybody's given up. You know the best time that love ever shows up? The best time the love of God ever showed up to any of us was at salvation. You know why? Because we were wrong. Because we had messed up. Because we were useless. Because nobody looked up to us. Nobody had anything for us. But God did. That's when His love really shined. Because you didn't earn anything. You didn't deserve it. You weren't perfect. You weren't even trying to be. The matter of fact is, you realized you were lost. You realized that you were in need of a Savior. And that's when God showed up. And when He showed up, He wrapped His arms around you. And you felt a love that you never felt before. You felt a love that surpassed anything. Because us, as being who we are, as we growed up, day in and day out, we've been put into this pattern of earning and deserving, whether it's at jobs, whether it's at work, whether it's in sports. And then we wonder why, when somebody comes to Christ, they have such a hard time of getting a hold of something that's undeserved, that's free. Can't be earned. Can't be earned. It's given by a loving Savior who only has love. It's reckless. How reckless? Imagine you having to put yourself on the line for somebody and die for them, not know it, and take their punishment that they deserved because of sin. Take that, not knowing if they'll willingly accept the sacrifice that you gave for them. How hard is that? That's sacrifice. That's putting yourself on the line. The greatest, second greatest commandment, love each other. Love. Love is simple, right? Love is easy. Love doesn't seem so simple. You know, whenever we had kids, nobody told us how hard it was. Nobody told us. Not a single warning. Nobody said, hey, when you have a kid, you're going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, change the diaper, it's going to scream. It's going to get sick for 2 weeks, ain't nobody going to get no sleep. Nobody told us that. Not a single person. But whenever that baby came out, it was the greatest thing ever. As your child grows, you see it grow. And it makes it all worth it. Same is true with Christians. Whenever you see a child, not as a little child, but as a lost person at any age, come to Christ, and you see them grow, it's amazing. You see the struggles they go through, just like you did. You see the breakthroughs that they have, and when they have them, you're like, I remember that. Same thing. I went through the same stuff. And you can see them grow and grow and grow. And as they grow, you know what you see them do? The same thing that George Siebert told me. That whenever he got saved, he read the first scripture told him that whenever you get saved, first thing you do is love your brethren. He said, I read that and I was like, oh, I love people. He knew it. He knew that he started to love people and didn't realize it until he read it. You know, the Bible says that sweet and bitter can't flow from the same fountain, but neither can hate and love. It's the same difference. It's the hardest one I've ever had, I'm telling you. Because a lot of times we build up hate for something, for someone. But there's something inside of us that beats us down, and I'm like, you need to love that person. You need to care about them. That's conviction. It speaks to your heart. You know why that happens? You know, when I was little, I'd do something wrong, I'd get whipping. I was a mean little kid. Do you believe it or not? I mean, I'm sure you do. I was a mean little kid. I get in trouble. I get a whipping. As soon as I get it, I dreaded it. But as soon as I get it, I'll be like, got that over with. On to the next one. You know? On to the next thing. A lot of times my grandma would give me a whipping, my mom and my dad on the same day. For multiple things. I had a grandpa. I've probably told you about him before. He was a grandpa. He was probably my best friend. And my mom and dad told me that, you know, when I was little, they said, well, Mom said when I was little, that wasn't your grandpa. He wasn't the same person. And when I was younger, I didn't realize why, but now I do. Because at some point in time, between the time my mom was little and the time I was, my grandpa got saved. Because my grandpa produced that love of God. It wasn't a love because I was his grandchild. It wasn't a love like a friend. It was a love like God. He had that. He was a difference maker. People loved my grandpa. And I know why. You know, whenever I was little, everybody would whip me and wear me out. But my grandpa never did. You know why? He could look at me, and it was just like conviction. it would break my heart. I would be in tears for messing up with my grandpa. But with mom and dad and grandma, they'd wear me out. I'd be like, got that over with. That wasn't as bad as I thought. But with grandpa, it could be something small. Just that look. He'd look at me. I could sense disappointment. It hurt. Because he was so good. He was so good to me always. It just hurt so bad. A lot of times, I think that's kind of what God's trying to tell us to do. How we need to love other people. We need to be like my grandpa was for me. A lot of times we want to beat people down, break them down. It accomplishes nothing. If we could have the kind of effect that my grandpa had on me, or the kind of effect that Jim had on this man that I encounter probably every couple weeks. Because whether he knows it or not, whether Jim knows it or not, there's a guy that used to come here. He hadn't been here in a long time. But I see him every couple weeks. And it never fails that as soon as I see him, the first thing he's going to ask me is about Jim. We've had long talks about Jim. And of all the people in the world, he's never told me that God loves him, but he has told me that Jim does. All the time. He said, you know, Jim really loves me. He said, Jim's probably the truest friend I've ever had. He's told me that. Whether he's told Jim that or not, I don't know. But he asked me about Jim. I don't know why he don't ask Jim about Jim. But the other day I got to thinking about it, and I think I do. It's because he knows that Jim loves him so much. He's afraid to talk to Jim. Because Jim has a major effect on him. Jim can probably talk him into doing anything about like my grandpa did. So instead he asked me about Jim. But Jim, he loves you. And he knows you love him. I ain't even gotten the Bible. I think there's really just one verse I need to read in 1 John chapter 4. And it's verse 19. We love him because he first loved us. I was going to read it all. But that's the important part. We love him because he first loved us. You know, whenever it comes to any kind of relationship, regardless of what it is, Susan and David, one of them had to initiate the relationship. And whenever we talk about love being hard or love being easy, Susan could definitely tell us that it's probably hard. Because she's put up with David for a long time. David always picks on me, so it's my turn, right? But one of them had to initiate the whole relationship. Regardless, in every relationship that we have, in every love that there is, there has to be an initiation. Somebody has to say, hey, how are you? Might be all the way it starts. Hey, how are you? Then you got a relationship. Next thing you know, you're best friends and you're hanging out. Then maybe you're dating and you're married. You know where it started? Hey, how are you? That's all it took. But if there was never a hey, how are you? There'd never be a relationship. Right? The greatest initiation. The greatest thing that's ever been is the cross. The greatest picture of love that there has ever been is the cross. There's nothing better. The greatest example of love is the cross. There's nothing better than the cross when it comes to love. There's nothing that shows love more than the cross. There would be no resurrection if it weren't for the cross. The cross was the whole purpose Jesus came to the world. The cross. Nothing else. He didn't come in the world to do anything, even to do miracles. He came in the world to go to the cross. To be a sacrifice for our sins. To give us an opportunity. To change us. To help us. You know why? My favorite 2 verses in the Bible. I don't know if I've ever even told you guys this. I'd never even told Sunday school until a couple of weeks ago, and it's been my favorite 2 verses forever. I told it at the prison, didn't I, Jim? I'm crucified with Christ. Galatians 2:20 and 21. I'm crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live. Yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. In this life I now live, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of God. For if righteousness come by the law, then Christ is dead in vain. You know what that means? If it was physically possible for any of us to live a righteous life, there would have never been a point in Jesus coming to the world and dying on the cross. Because if it was possible for just one of us to live a life worthy of going to heaven, there would have been no need for a sacrifice. Which proves God to be true again. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. For there is none righteous, no, not one. That's love. Love is laying yourself down for somebody else. It's hard. You know why? I've struggled with this a lot. God's really poured it on me over love. Big time. Over loving people when they really need it. When they're really in need. When nobody else is there. That's hard. You know what that is? It's putting yourself on the line for them. It's dropping what you need to do for somebody else. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to say. Love. We always thought it was simple. Proverbs says love covers all sins. Love. We think love appears out of nowhere, but it's really a verb. If you want to see love at its finest, it's with Jesus on the cross, covered in blood, with a crown of thorns, dying on the cross for us. That's love. Denise, come sing us a song. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. Whenever it comes to love, we know, if we know that Jesus died on the cross for us, and that our faith in Him, we shouldn't live in fear. The Bible says not. Because fear has torment. The torment will destroy you. It says perfect love. Perfect love. There's only one perfect love, and that's the cross. If the Lord's dealing with you today, I pray you come up here. Know that He loves you, no matter what. Love on other people. It's the only thing that will make a difference. Whenever you see people that disappear, and they never come back, love on them. tell them that you care about them. Go to extreme measures to reach out to them, because it might make a difference. Each and every one of us encounter different people in every day. And the only way that we can show the love of God is to do it unconditionally, to do it recklessly, to put ourselves on the line for other people. And you know what? That ain't as easy as it sounds. That's hard. It's tough. That's the only way we can magnify Christ, is if we love other people. It's the second greatest commandment. If we do that, we'll never hurt other people. We'll never do them wrong. Never be able to. Because if we strive to love them, it'll only help us and them.
Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah, yeah. When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves a 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Thank you, guys. I'm glad that I got rid of all that. I feel a lot better now. I was sick all morning. I feel a lot better. Love's not easy. You need to realize that. Anybody got a word on the heart?
Amen.
Amen. Anybody else?
I'm gonna go get some extra